Right, good evening, YouTube. So I wanted to make a quick video because a couple days ago I went to my buddy's house and I cut up his one of his post oak trees that had fell down from one of the recent storms that passed through. The tree had been sitting there for a little while, but he came back from out of town and he told me that when he came back we'd cut it up together. So what I did is I actually ended up taking all my saws with me. I have 5 saws. I got 3 that you can see up here, and I'll show you the other 2 that I have down there. I took them all with me because I was going to make some content with the saws and stuff, and just basically have fun with my kids, running the saws and teaching them how to use them and stuff. But what ended up happening is that tree, it ended up being full of like corroded nails. It had a big bracket that was like sticking up, that was inside of the tree that was sticking out of it. And then it had some conduit too that had kind of grown, that it grew around and stuff. So like basically I didn't take any tools with me to sharpen my saws because I figured I got 5 saws, so like why would I need a tool to sharpen them? I'm gonna be able to get through this tree like really quick, you know. I thought it was gonna take me maybe like 20 minutes to get through the whole tree, you know. Well, we ended up we got through the whole tree and stuff, but by the time we were done, none of my saws were sharp anymore. I had one saw. This is the last saw that was left that hadn't hit a nail. So we finished the job with my 445. And then at the end we ended up chopping it up and turning it into firewood and stuff. So like I said, we got it all done, but tonight I wanted to do the maintenance like I always do on my saws. So like one thing that for whatever reason I get shit about in the comments is that my saws always look like they're new and stuff. Like they tell me that I don't use them. Well, the reason my saws always look like new is because I like to keep them looking like new. So pretty much after every time I use them, I clean them up really well because I want them to last for a really long time. Now obviously that's not going to guarantee that I don't have problems or they don't last a long time, but you know, I like to clean them, keep them looking like new, keep them running like new. I run good fuel through them, the best fuel I can get my hands on and stuff. So anyways, so tonight I'm gonna have some whiskey, you know, probably a couple of cigars, clean up all my saws and stuff, and I'm gonna sharpen the chains. Now I wanted to make this small video because I kind of wanted to share something with some of the beginners. You know, what I'm about to share is not really for like, you know, the professionals or the people that have been running saws for 10, 15, 20 years. So what I've found to be the 2 easiest ways to sharpen the chains, and I did a video of how to clean them and maintain them and stuff, but I never did a video on how to sharpen the chains. Now there's a lot of videos online about how to sharpen the chains and stuff, and the problem that I had when I first started watching all this stuff was there's so many tools and so many different ways to sharpen your chains. Like, you know, the cheapest, most simple way is just with the hand file, right? And some of the pros out there can sharpen using a hand file. They can sharpen a chain better than new. Now the problem with that is if you're a beginner, obviously you're not going to be able to do that. It takes time. It takes probably months, maybe even years of practice to be able to sharpen your chain with the hand file, you know, to get it running better than new. So I went online, like I said, and there's a bunch of different products and stuff, and I was wondering which one's better, which one's not, and all this stuff. So what I found to work out the best for me, if I just like I said, if I'm in the field and I just want to sharpen it real quick and just do it fast, I got 2 methods that I like, you know, and one of them is the steel, the 2-in-1 file. Now the advantage with this one is it does sharpen pretty well, and this one also takes down your rakers for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So like if you're like a straight beginner, you don't know how to take your rakers down or measure them or any of that stuff, this is probably the perfect tool. Now I have seen some videos that say that when you use this, the chain will cut like crooked and stuff. I haven't had that problem. It usually pulls pretty well. I can cut straight with it, and it makes big chips, like big wood chips when I'm cutting. So the steel 2-in-1 file takes down the rakers, and it also sharpens pretty well, you know, in my opinion. Now, like I said, there is going to be other better ways. I'm not trying to argue that this is the best way. All I'm simply saying is, if you're a beginner and you simply just want to be able to use something that you can learn how to use it in just a few minutes of training, of practice or whatever, and you'll be able to, you know, cut dirty wood and then sharpen your chain really quick. Like, it takes me 5-10 minutes to use this, depending on, you know, if it's my 28-inch, you know, bar, or it's just one of these 18-inch bars. Now the second method, and I like this method more as far as I feel like it gets my my saws sharper than this does, but it's also a little bit more time consuming, and it takes a little bit more skill, but it's still not that complicated. So it's gonna be it's a Granberg filing joint. Now the one that I have is the G106B. So this thing basically mounts on there, and then it's similar to just using the file by itself, but you mount it on there, and then you use it individually on each tooth. Now the setback from this is that you're gonna have to learn how to take down the rakers when you have to use a raker gauge. You're gonna have to be able to, you know, have to take some of the rakers down and stuff. But I'm gonna do a short little tutorial, I guess. I'm just gonna set up my my camera when I start sharpening my saws, and what I'll do is I'll do some examples on using both. And like I said, these two methods, they're very easily accessible. They got those 2-in-1 files all over on Amazon. You can find them everywhere. Same thing with the Granberg file and joint. So they got it on Amazon. These two methods are cheap. They work well, and like I said, this is not, you know, if you're a beginner, you don't know how to use you know, like any special tools, you don't have grinders, you don't know how to set up the discs and all that stuff. You know, there's people that do like square grinds on there. There's all kinds of cool things you can do, but if you're a beginner, you know, you're not going to be able to do that right away. So like I said, that's what this is for. Alright, so the first thing I would do is find a way to mount your saw on something kind of like this. That way when you're sharpening it, you know, it's just easier to kind of work with it. You don't necessarily have to have this, but if you do it without it, it's just a little bit harder. You have to put like the bar between your legs, or hold it, or hold the back part of it. You know, you just have to figure it out. But the easiest way is if you have a way to kind of mount it on something like this. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about these the 2-in-1s, the steel 2-in-1 files, you have to make sure that you get the correct size for your chain. So this is a 261, MS261. Those typically come with a 325 chain, and you can see right here it says 325, and it's a 4.8 millimeter. So this is the one you have to have. And if you're running a 3/8, I think that's like a 5.2 millimeter, but just make sure that you pick the correct one for your correct size of your chain. Got a lot of debris on here from, I haven't cleaned the saw yet. We're gonna do that after we sharpen it. Alright, so the cool thing about this file is that it has arrows that kind of tell you which direction the file has to go. And as you can see here, if you look at the teeth on the chain, they always go in one specific direction or another. So like this one goes across like that. The one in front of it goes in this direction. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with the teeth that go across like that. Now the file, like I said, you're gonna point the arrow in the direction where you have to where the tooth is going, and you're gonna set the file inside of it, and then the flat file is the one that's gonna take down the raker. So it does it, like I said, automatically. So what you do is you're gonna place it in here, Place it in the tooth, and then you're going to line this up to where it lines up perfectly with your bar. Press down, and then you're just going to go straight across like this. Come back and go straight across. And it usually, depending on how dull your teeth are, you probably can get away with anywhere from 3 to 10 swipes. Now these are pretty bad because I said they hit a lot of metal, so I'm gonna have to hit it a few times. But that's good on that one. So what I like to do is I'll mark up, and I don't have my marker. I forgot my marker, but you can see I have a red marker already on here. But anyways, so you put a mark on there, so that way you know you don't lose track of which teeth you already did, and then you just kind of start moving forward. So this one's facing the other direction, so then you're going to come across over here. You're going to do the other one. So it's a lot easier if you hold it with both hands, but I'll kind of be in front of the camera. But this kind of shows you how easy it is. And that right there is pretty sharp, and it hit the raker a little bit. You can feel it. So that's how you use this one. So like I said, I'm just doing this video real quick, mostly just to show you the options. If you need, you know, more in-depth tutorials on how to use this, there's plenty of videos on YouTube where they show you in more in depth on how to use it properly. But I'm just doing this because I just want people to know when they're starting off what are the quickest, easiest methods to learn. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and do the Granberg filing joint. So like I said, this is the G106-B. They're all pretty similar. They all kind of work the same way. There's a few different variations, I guess, of this thing, but the one that they have on Amazon, they got a lot of these ones. So it's pretty easy to get started with it. So it's got like a bolt on the side here. I went ahead and mounted it because that's kind of self-explanatory. All you got to do is mount it, tighten it up, and make sure that your chain can kind of move through. And you've got to do the teeth to kind of go with the direction of where you're going to be filing. So it's got two main measurements. Once you put it together, it's got a screw over here in the back. What this does is it adjusts it for bringing the file down and then bringing it up. See, like you can see it coming up and then it goes down. So for a normal chain that doesn't have any fancy measurements to it, angles or whatever, you're just going to keep the file flat at 90 degrees, right? And then as far as the angle goes of the file, which way it's going to go, people say that it's between 30 and 35 degrees, or there's probably other stuff that I don't know about. But the chain from the factory, it already comes with an angle. So I've got this tooth put in here. I set it in here. That way we can kind of figure it out. But so if you look, each tooth already has an angle to it. It already comes from the factory with an angle. And all you have to do, you don't have to know exactly 30, 31 or whatever degrees. All you have to do is kind of place the file inside of there. And there's another bolt right here that you loosen. And what this does is it allows you, let's go loosen a little more, allows you to move it around to whatever angle you need, right? So you have the teeth, you're going to drop it in here, you're going to lower it down, and then once it gets inside of there, you're going to rotate it until it falls right inside the tooth and it's at the perfect angle. And that's going to be the same angle on all of the teeth. Then all you do now is you just tighten this. Now that that's tight, you can go back and forth. So all you do now is you just push and back. And that one's done already, I could tell. It's pretty sharp. So that's how that one works. And like I said, if you want more in-depth videos on how to do it, there's or an in-depth tutorials on how to do it, there's a bunch of videos online. But like I said, if you can tell, this is pretty simple. It's pretty easy. Once you've set it up a couple of times, you can do it with no problem. Now, like I said, you also are gonna have to, with this, you're also gonna have to learn about the rakers and stuff. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to share for the beginners out there. So these are all the saws that I got to get cleaned up tonight and get them all sharpened up. Good times.